am I connected to on LinkedIn? Well, you might want to check your LinkedIn because I think it's more than that. I have something like 2,000 people in the Sacramento realtor world, you know, including mortgage and title and appraisers and realtors and all of that. So you probably have seen me before this, and I spoke to your group about 8 years ago about Facebook and Facebook pages, and so much has changed since then that I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you.
My name is Julie Gallagher. I'm celebrating 10 years in business this next month, and I've been helping businesses both with SEO, which is getting to the front page of Google, and social media and reputation management, a little bit of website design, and some different strategies that people sometimes want to do, like lead magnet, where they have some kind of giveaway in order to attract prospects. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about social media and which platform is best for you, and some of my tips. So the first thing you have to think about when you're thinking about social media is who is your perfect prospect. Now, 8 years ago when I was talking to you, Facebook was not yet at 500,000 users, and now they're like a zillion. So it's different now than it was then. Then it was like living in Placerville, where you could meet the people in your neighborhood fairly easy. Then you move to the big city, and you find that you don't know the names of the people that are 3 or 4 houses down the block from you. So you want to think about your perfect prospect in a really narrow way, exactly who's your perfect prospect. If I was in your situation, I would be talking about the fact that I am a St. Francis High School alumna all the time. Yeah. And now it's not quite so important to me because my prospect list is business owners. But I have found that talking about St. Francis is more important to me than talking about the fact that I graduated from UC Davis. People are more impressed by, ooh, St. Francis. Yes, trulies. My friend Estella is active with the Front Street Animal Hospital and talks about that a lot. So you're basically building your own neighborhood of people who have something in common with you, which is really the only way to make free social media work, is to really focus on who is your prospect and what they are interested in. Where are they? What are their interests? What platforms do they use? What things do they respond to? 8 years ago, if you had some cute little thing about a dog and it came through in my feed, I'd respond. Now, it has to be about a dachshund because there's too many people sending me messages. So, it's not baseball, it's the Giants. 1 in every 3 people in the world is on social media today. And I don't mean in general, I mean today, April the 16th, 2019. 1 in every 3 people in the world will check some social media platform. More people on social media than watch the Super Bowl and the Oscars combined.
Wow.
On a daily basis.
She said combined.
Yeah.
Woo!
So those users are seeing millions of messages. And so how is your message going to get through? It was easier when I started to have my message get through because there weren't so many people on. Now you have to have some better strategy in order to do that. There's something that's called the rule of 150, and it states that a human being can really only manage about 150 connections before they go into overwhelm. And that is the theory that Facebook and Instagram in particular use with their filtering system. So what they do through their filter is they determine for me who are the 150 people that I'm connected to that interest me the most. That's why your Facebook page doesn't have the reach it used to, because not very many people have you in the 150 most interesting to them. So if you're relying on the free method of getting your messaging out there, you have to figure out who is it that's really interested in you, and is that the person that you want to have be interested in you? And if not, change what you're doing. So Facebook is like a backyard barbecue. It's best for people who love you. If you lived in Placerville, then you might have some people in your circle that you don't know really well that you would invite to your house. But if you live in town where the density is so high, only your very closest people are you going to invite over to your own home. So those people that really love you are very valuable. So those are the people who will share your video, who will write a comment, that type of thing. And so you don't want to neglect them, but they probably aren't your prospects. They're people who already love you, not someone who you're trying to develop a relationship with. So on Facebook, one of the things that you can do now is on your Facebook page, you want to try and get someone to comment on your page. If they comment on your page, then there are methods that you can use that bring them into your Facebook Messenger, and you can speak to them via the Messenger. So you now have a way to reach someone in addition to an email list. You can talk to them one-on-one or as a group through the Facebook Messenger. So the way to do that is to really think of who your prospect is and what they would respond to, and then put something out that requires them to respond. So maybe it is, do you think that the city should build a new soccer stadium? In the comments, write yes or no, because they have to actually comment. It isn't a thumb up or a little heart that gets them into this system. It's a comment. So frequently you'll probably see people saying, say yes if you think this. And you'll just see the comments are yes, 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 yes. That's why they're doing that. So with Facebook, that is the number one tip that I have for something that you can do for free. Now Facebook has their advertising platform, and there's tremendous power in their Facebook advertising platform. But in that advertising platform, you also have to know who your target market is and be really focused on them, because the ad that you deliver to them really needs to be something that speaks to them, or you're wasting your money. 8 years ago when I started doing Facebook advertising, I could do an ad and literally spend $1 on the ad and get some responses for it. One of my stories that I told is I did an ad, I spent $12 in total. I had made a YouTube video about a reputation management class that I was offering. And that $12 spend got my YouTube video to the top of the YouTube search engine, where it remained for 3 years off of a $12 spend. But now, even your A/B testing of trying to figure out what ads work are going to cost you some real money. And the boosting of an ad is only purpose is to remind the people that already like you that they like you. It is not for reaching new people. And that whole Facebook is a backyard barbecue concept kind of reinforces that remember that it is the best for connecting with people that already know and like you and love you. Twitter is like a cocktail party where you can move around a lot. You could talk to a whole bunch of different people, and you have to talk a lot. If you go to a cocktail party or a mixer and you talk to one person, you know that you feel like a failure, that the purpose of going to the mixer, you didn't reach the purpose. You just talk to your one friend. You have to talk, you have to move around and get to know different people. So on Twitter, my tip is you have to build your own audience. Back in the day when I was an AT&T Yellow Page salesperson, and I had Michael Heedy for my client. Michael told me at the time I couldn't tell anybody this story because he had a beautiful little ad in the phone book that probably cost him about $6,000 a year. Wow. And he said that almost every month he got a listing out of that ad. Because the Yellow Pages was distributed through all the libraries across the entire country, it was available for people who were trying to do research, he frequently would get somebody who didn't live in town. They didn't know a single realtor, and they had to sell their mother's house on the corner of 45th and M. And so the leads would come in, and then of course people that are moving to town that want to find somebody to help them. So now that is in Google, that's the case. But at the time, that was available through the Yellow Pages. It's not available through any of those media anymore. The usage of the media, Yellow Pages, the number of ads in the Yellow Pages is down by 85%. The new phone book just got delivered, and as a phone book person, we used to always immediately turn to the last page of the phone book. How many pages were there? The pages are down by about 65%, and they've gone to a 3-column where they used to have a 5-column. So it's, you know, boom on the ground. With social media, you have to build your own audience, or you have to hire someone like me to help you build that audience. My best tip for Twitter, that for something that you can do for free, is if you go to my business Twitter account, which is Get on the Map, you're looking at the screen, and there will be my little logo and some information, and across the top, one of the little tabs will say lists. And if you click on that list, the top list that will show up is one that says Sacramento Twitterers. And if you click on that list, you'll come to this page, and it says Sacramento Twitterers, that there are 901 people on this list. All of the people on this list have followed one of my many managed accounts. So I manage Twitter for a bunch of customers as well, since January of 2018. So these are people that are relatively current in their activity. Some of the lists that you might find, or if you search in different ways, sometimes you'll find people who used to be on Twitter and no longer are. And so I usually start one of these each year. I didn't do one for 2019. I usually start fresh a list, but this list has those 900 people. So there's some people who you might want to connect with in your building of your audience. If you click here, then the list opens up of all the people that are on it, and you can just go follow down the line. Don't do more than 50, or you'll have to change your password. I did 87 yesterday, and they went, it looks like there's unusual activity on your Twitter account. Change your password. Okay, so next is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is like a trade show. The most important thing at a trade show is, what does your booth look like? You know, do you have it decorated, or do you just have a card table there? Is your photo that you have a good photo that portrays you well? Is your content that you have in your bio really make people want to connect with you? I see people who put things, their occupation is vice president. And I want to say, of what? No, exactly. That's not really a selling message. Whereas if they put vice president of Coldwell Banker Metro, blah, 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 they're telling people something that might make that person interested in calling them in some kind of business connection. So my number one tip in LinkedIn is build that network. So if you go to the search bar up at the top of LinkedIn and you type in a word like realtors, then there's another section that opens up that says, what are the filters that you want to use? Are you looking for people who are first level connections that mean you're already connected to them? Or second level connections that mean somebody you know is connected to them? What's their location? What company do they work for? So when I do this, I will type in something like realtors, second level connections, because I'm looking to build my connection level in Sacramento. And I'll get a list like this, and it'll say here that you have 55 people in common with this person, and here it might say I have 3 people in common with these. So I'll go through that. If I have a lot of connections in common, I'll just hit that button and say connect. I don't write anything to them. I don't say, you know, I'm Julie and I'd love to be your friend. I think that's what stops people from building their network, is that they think that it's harder than it is. I think that when someone gets a connection from me, especially because I'm so active in the community, a fair number of people already are familiar with me. And they either like me or they don't. So it doesn't matter what little sentence I put in there, you know. So I now have 11,000 LinkedIn connections, of which 80% or more are Sacramento based. So I have a really high ability to connect with anyone that I want to connect with in town. If I see a name of somebody that I think would be a good prospect for me, I can type their name into LinkedIn and I can see who we know in common. And I can message that person and say, would you introduce me to so-and-so, because I'd really like to talk to them about their new restaurant or whatever is the thing I want to talk to them about. So this search is really valuable information that you can utilize. Once you're connected to somebody, you have really fabulous info about them, you can message them, but you also have their email address. Sometimes you have their phone number. You have really a lot of data from the person. And I find that if I put out some content that is of high interest to people in Sacramento, I can put a message out on LinkedIn that will reach 4,000 or 5,000 people. And, you know, that's pretty good. So I recently reshared the beautiful illustration of the soccer stadium. And my comment was, I don't really like soccer, but this is really beautiful. And I had something like 63 people respond to that, because apparently a lot of people do like soccer.
Go figure.
Instagram is now, of course, the rage. Everyone's talking about Instagram. It has the same kind of filtering as Facebook does, so your message will not get through unless you build a connection with the audience. You develop that audience, you message with them. When I was at AT&T, we had a rule of thumb that said for every $1 that someone invested in their AT&T Yellow Page ad, they would get $4 in profit on average. And I think that that same rule applies in social media and internet marketing. And so you have to determine what it is that you want to get out of it. If you want $1,000 worth of profit per week, then you probably need to spend $250 worth of effort per week in order to do that. That is either your own effort, your own time, or someone that you hire to put that effort in for you. Because, you know, if you get yourself on Instagram to have 500 followers, that really means that somewhere between 25 and 75 people will see that message that you just put out. Is that enough to get your business goal to be accomplished? Back in the days when you bought the Yellow Page ad from me, you bought an ad from me, I handed it off to AT&T, and they took your ad and they put it in 1 million homes and businesses. So you might get 100 phone calls over the course of the year from that ad and make some really good money, but it was because we had that distribution. Now, social media, you have to distribute yourself, which is, you know, kind of the way life is now. So on Instagram, my advice to you is that you either need to become an influencer, which there's several people in the realtor community that are influencers themselves, or work with influencers to help share your messaging. You know, there's a whole new industry of people who are making a living through influencer marketing. And whereas in the past you might have spent $1,500 for a quarter-page ad in SAR magazine, now you would have 10 influencers that you would give $150 to a piece, and you would have a reach that is bigger than what SAC magazine had. They had 40,000 subscribers. Your 10 influencers probably have 150,000 followers between them. So, you know, that's a method. Now, I'm doing an Instagram follower campaign, Instagram growth campaign, and I have a flyer about that, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. The last of the platforms that I want to talk to you about is Google. And, you know, I'm really, the bread and butter of my business is not doing social media, it's doing SEO. So, you know, Google is where people go when they know that they want to buy what you have for sale. So it's the difference between a billboard on the freeway and the old Yellow Pages, that, you know, you're broad or you're targeted in who you're reaching. So I help people with SEO, and with this new project that I have just started, I have some things that a person can do in terms of SEO that are really a bargain. So if you type into Google Sacramento Realtors, there's about 700 people a month that type in some variation of this. They are looking for a realtor. They don't know who they're looking for. They're typing in best realtor Sacramento, top realtor Sacramento, best real estate agent Sacramento, Sacramento realtors, all these various phrases. I have 11 different phrases on the first page of Google, and I have a little flyer that I've handed out on my new site of Sacramento Top 10, which didn't fit in the slides. That is something a partner, one of my clients started that website about 15 years ago, and then he, you know, his real actual business is pest control, so he really got tired of keeping it up to date. So for probably 10 years it was never updated. It gets all kinds of searches for things like the broiler, who's been out of business for how many years. It's the only site that still had it on it, so that's why people were searching for it. And so last year we partnered and I did a whole remodel on the website. I sort of see it as a cross between the Yellow Pages and Yelp, where Yelp is designed to satisfy opinionated consumers. My site is designed to help businesses promote themselves. Eventually, it really will be a top 10 list because it has an element where you can vote up the people that you like. You don't have to register for it. There's no like hassle of things that people have to go through to participate. And people can vote you up, but they cannot vote you down, and they cannot say anything mean about you. That's why I say my site is designed for in the interests of the business, not in the interests of people who like to rant. So, and because I do SEO, and SEO is a pretty expensive project, this is something that I have designed to make sure that it is really affordable for me to kind of balance out my business and not have all of my income in 4 or 5 clients, but to have a lot of people who I can help a little bit with. The feature listing on Sacramento Top 10, where you can put a slide show or a video, different communities that you're targeting, is $50 a month or $549 for the year. And the prices are going up on May 1st, so this was perfect, good timing. Thank you. I have that on a little flyer. Could you go to Google?
In there?
Live action.
How am I doing on my time?
I'd say
5,
about,
7?
about 7 more minutes,
Okay.
and then we want to allow time for questions too, so.
This little thing will take a little.
I'll let you know, I'll kind of.
Okay.
Should we wave like this? 5?
I'm in the Toastmasters, so they have a green,
Jen.
a yellow, a red, like a red. Get finish and wrap it up, baby. So if you type in
Right.
here, type in Best Realtor Sacramento.
It's gonna be Martin's gonna be on here.
Ready?
Yep.
Martin Perucci.
Patty Martinez
So
was
if
number
you-
17.
Go down, scroll down.
You scroll down. Oh, yeah, you scroll for me, okay? Or can I do that?
Who's that?
Okay.
Sunit.
Sunit,
So
I
those
agree.
are some
Sunit.
people, cool.
Michael Gady, Aaron Ward, Sean Campos.
Those are
You
yellow.
showing?
Yeah, you can go in. I'm not at the top of the list, but I am on page 1. I hope that that's, so right here,
So,
see there's the stars
Right.
showing.
okay.
So if you click on that link.
Second word again. There you go. What's it?
Okay, and kind of scroll down, kind of toward the middle or so. But I past all this kind of stuff, so it's got all the mapping kind of
This
thing.
line better.
And keep going a little bit. So every realtor is entitled to have a free listing. It's a self-serve platform where you would go on and add yourself on. That free listing has your name, address, phone number, and real estate license number. So I hope that people will do that. We also have a category of mortgages and property management and appraisers and title companies and all of this sort of other real estate related things. So now if we scroll back up to the top, not
that
quite
far.
all the way, so yeah, perfect. So in that search bar, not claim listing, but over the other way,
Live search.
there, yes. So type in Carmichael. Okay, and enter. Yeah, you gotta spell it right.
No, I-
He's a numbers guy,
Yeah.
not a math. Mortgage.
Right, baby.
So I got your back, Jay. We don't got to spell mortgage.
Thank you so much. I thought it was funny what you said about the order.
I'll go with
In my home growing up,
That's
if you
spell check.
went and passed the dishes in the wrong order, you were in a lot of trouble with my mother.
Uh-oh.
You know, if you didn't go in the direction that the dishes were supposed to go, and you passed that way, ooh, she would be like Maddie.
I
So-
just get confused easy, that's why.
So I typed in Carmichael, and if you'll scroll down below this thing, so we have several people who come up in the search because their business is actually located in Carmichael. But my friend Bill Espinoza, his business is located in Fair Oaks. He has the Spotlight listing. The Spotlight Plus listing comes with up to 5 geographic tags. And he's chosen Carmichael as one of his tags, which is really important because he lived in Carmichael. I mean, he lives there still. He raised his whole family. He has 4 children. He's probably been in Carmichael for 40 years. And so he's coming up when someone's looking for someone in Carmichael. So this is the Spotlight Plus listing. It has the It can have links to your social media profile. It has a little description of why you're cool. It has the geographic tags. Still has your real estate number and your stuff. And if you click on it,
Which one?
this one,
Quick,
yeah.
yeah, I know, sorry about
Could be.
that.
And so then you have a whole profile.
Cool.
So that is something that via PayPal, it's $50 a month. You can quit anytime you want. If you sign up for it and you keep it forever, the price will never go up. Or you can pay $5.49 with a check for a year in advance, get a free month, and put your thing. This profile can have a slideshow, a video. This is kind of really basically a blog post. So if you're interested, let me know. And does anyone have any questions? How many minutes?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here, so if anybody has any questions, we have time for about 2 or 3.
There's one.
On the Google listing, so you search Sacramento mortgage broker.
Yeah.
And then you've got business addresses that help it show up. This is a specific issue for me.
Okay.
I moved my office from Sacramento to Granite Bay.
Okay.
And so, search Granite Bay mortgage brokers, I show up because my office is there. Is there any way to have multiple addresses so that, like in his case, it's like Carmichael, Fair Oaks and whatnot, for Google to recognize that?
For
you're doing-
Google, so Google thinks that people really are interested in a really precise local. And that's one of the problems with Google, where in the past you could buy a Yellow Page ad and you could have a whole regional kind of impression. Now they're on just your addresses, and the people who had, like, you're in sad shape if you're in Orangeville, because you only come up in Orangeville and there's not that many customers there for most businesses. It's kind of small. At least in Granite Bay, there's people who have a lot of money. There's not many of them, but they have a lot of money.
My business in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that you have to find an address, or you have to optimize, do SEO optimizing for Sacramento, and I could talk to you about that.
Okay.
Stella?
Yes.
So I just want to say thank you, Julie. She turned me into a Facebook geek. Back about 8 years ago, I started taking her classes.
It's all good.
But thank you, Julie, and you guys, she is awesome.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right, well, thank you.
I'll hang out here for a little bit if anybody has any questions.